Hey! What's happening?
What's up, brother?
You got Dante's Nation and you got Lukey. What the fuck? Hold on.
It's going
I gotta
down.
get y'all motherfuckers. Hold on. I gotta get y'all. Hold on.
You already know what it is. Ben know what it is.
Hold on. I gotta get y'all.
Ben know what it is.
Ego, Lukey.
Yeah. It's
All
going
in the
down.
same place at one time.
Absolutely. Look, he's the best fighter. I mean, it's still, even retired, he's still the best fighter in the world.
So you believe fighting Froch would be worth, stepping up in competition and then coming back down to Floyd Mayweather, but you don't believe fighting Ward would actually be worth?
People were here today. This guy just is going to sell out the forum again. Why would we take a step backwards?
What TV ratings you think he'll do?
Huh?
Do you think he'll do at least a million TV ratings? Well, just the ratings. What do you think these TV ratings will be, like a million or what?
I hope so. I hope so for Andre, because he's a great talent. He hasn't, for whatever reason, he hasn't gotten his dues from the public. But neither is Rigo, neither is Lara. The public is asking for something different than what he does. I sure hope he gets the ratings.
Do you think Ward actually did it differently? He was more offensive today.
Oh, absolutely. He fought a great fight today.
Yeah.
But he fought a great fight. But the next time maybe he'll get the ratings because he fought a great fight this time and he's going to do the same thing the next time. People just anticipated a same kind of Ward fight for this fight. But I thought he fought a great fight.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? I tell you on this channel all the time, one of the most dangerous weapons in the world is a microphone and a camera. And what you guys just witnessed in that clip that I just played with Abel Sanchez is evidence to that. Irrefutable evidence, without a doubt. As you guys just seen once again in that interview, Abel Sanchez, he was suggesting that if Andre Ward were to hit 1 million TV ratings, that would be a success. But at the same time, Abel Sanchez, he said he did not think that Andre Ward would reach 1 million TV ratings because, the buzz is not there and whatever reason, Andre Ward is just not being received the way he's supposed to be. I'm paraphrasing. You guys obviously can go back and listen to the clip. But this is pretty much what Abel Sanchez was saying. He was basically saying that this fight, this Barrera versus Ward fight, would most likely fall short of 1 million pay-per-views. And then he said, hopefully next time he can get those type of views, but not for this fight. That is pretty much what Abel Sanchez said. Well, Abel Sanchez, unfortunately for you, you were dead wrong. Because Andre Ward, he did just that. Andre Ward, he hit over 1 million TV views when it comes to ratings on HBO. Now, before I go further into the details of the actual numbers, I want to share a story with you guys. I was sitting ringside in the media section, and I was in between two guys. I don't want to call them decafs. I'm just going to be nice, and I'm going to mildly call them critics. Critics of Andre Ward, coincidentally. Let's put it that way for now. So you had the guy to the left of me that was a radio personality out there in the Bay Area. His name was Ryan Makiana, something like that. And then you had the guy to the right of me. Now, the guy to the right of me, he was a straight up decaf. I can say that for a fact. Now, the guy from the radio station, he was trying to gauge the attendance in the arena, see how many people were actually there. And as we start talking more about this, the guy to the right of me, even though it looked like it was pretty much a packed house, the guy to the right of me, he started looking at a couple empty seats, and he was like, he started. Now the dude to the right of me, he was a decaf, no doubt about it. He was a full-fledged decaf. So he starts looking around the arena, and he's looking for the 1 or 2 seats that are empty. And he's basically like, yeah, man, but if you look over there, there's a couple empty seats. And this is just a shame. There should be no empty seats, in Andre Ward's hometown. So this is what he's saying, right? And then the guy to the left of me, the radio guy, he starts to kind of agree with him slightly. And this is when I say to them, what do you guys think the TV ratings will look like? And I told them, I'm telling you guys right now, if this Andre Ward fight does at least 1 million views, that would be a success. And the radio guy, he completely agreed with me that it would be a success, but he disagreed with me when it came to projecting what the numbers would be. So he told me that he didn't think that the numbers would even be 800 to 1 million, right? He's like, no, I don't think it's going to be that. He said, if you look at the crowd, even though it's, a lot of people here, the fact that he didn't, sell it out completely, et cetera, he started talking kind of sideways. I'll put it that way. And I'm trying to get him to understand. I'm like, bro, you don't understand. Before Andre Ward was on his hiatus, Andre Ward was averaging very good TV ratings on HBO. He did 1.2, 1.3. He was actually doing better numbers than Gennady Golovkin, once again, before he had his layoff. Okay? So I was explaining to this guy, if he was doing that back then, and now you have all this attention on Andre Ward, because now they're building up to possibly the biggest fight in boxing today, which is Ward versus Kovalev. Why would you possibly think that these numbers would be below 800,000? You also have to take into consideration that when it comes to haters will tune in quicker than the actual fans that love you will tune in, because they are praying for your demise. They want to see you get knocked out. They want to see you get beat up. So you have Andre Ward stepping out of his comfort zone to fight against a Cuban. We're not talking about just some no-name guy from Nebraska. We're talking about a Cuban fighter with an amateur pedigree, undefeated, #1 contender, right? This is who Andre Ward is going up against. We don't know how Andre Ward is going to operate when it comes to stepping up in competition, or stepping up in weight, I should say. The curiosity alone is going to draw a lot of attention, right? It's going to elicit a lot of views. So I'm trying to get him to understand this. I said, once again, when it comes to people hating on you, they're going to tune in. The people who love you are going to tune in, but the people who hate you, them motherfuckers are going to be glued to the TV with voodoo dolls in their hands, waiting for you to fail. If you don't believe me, just think about this for a second. If you were to ask a decaf, now he may or may not answer the question honestly, but deep down in his heart, if you ask him this question, and the question would be, if you could have it your way, would you rather watch Andre Ward get knocked the fuck out by anyone, or would you rather Gennady Golovkin knock out Willie Monroe in his next fight? And you could only choose one option. What option do you think the average decaf and detractor of Andre Ward would choose? It's more than obvious which option he would choose. He would be sitting over there jumping up and down watching Andre Ward get knocked out. No doubt about it. If a genie gave him those two options, right? So I'm telling this radio guy that this is the reason why Andre Ward is going to do at least 1 million TV ratings. And he says to me, you know what, I understand what you're saying about the hate. He said, but I don't think there's enough buzz. He said, I don't even think there's enough people paying attention to Andre Ward for him to produce even 800,000 to 1 million TV views. This is what the man said. And I said, okay, let's go ahead and play The Price is Right. I said, remember this night, as we're sitting here watching this fight, Ryan, you remember, Dante told you that this fight is going to do at least 1 million buys. Well, Ryan, today, those TV ratings were released. And as Dante told you, the numbers peaked at 1.1 million, and the numbers averaged above 1 million in 64,000 views. This is the reason why listening to decafs can be very, very infectious. It is very contagious to constantly hear decafs downplaying Andre Ward. Oh, he's so boring. He can't sell out his backyard, etc., etc., etc. It takes a very strong, intelligent person to repel the ignorance and still be able to produce common sense and direct evidence of the truth. And this is exactly what you get when you are watching Dante's Boxing Nation. So once again, I'm sitting in between these two cats, Decaf to the right and the radio personality guy to my left. Now, like I just told you guys, I believe I just told you, Ryan, he said that he did not believe there was enough buzz for Andre Ward to even do 800,000. He said if Andre Ward could do anything between 800,000 to 1 million, that would be a success story. That's what this man said. And then he went on to say, but it ain't gonna happen. And Decaf to my right said the same thing, said no way. No way this fight does 1 million TV views, right? And once again, going back to Abel Sanchez, he said, I hope he does 1 million views. I hope he does ratings like that. But then he went on to say, but it ain't gonna probably happen this fight. It may happen in this next fight, but not this one. That's what he said. And now we know that all of those guys were wrong. Let me explain to you guys why these numbers are so impressive. Are these the biggest numbers on HBO when it comes to a HBO televised fight? Of course not. Whenever you get over 1 million TV views, that is a success within itself. But this is more impressive what Andre Ward was able to do under the circumstances. Allow me to elaborate. Let's start with ESPN. ESPN is by far the largest sport network in the country. They are responsible for providing an enormous amount of exposure for all of these athletes in different sports. So you have Dan Raphael that covers boxing for ESPN, and for some strange coincidental reason, ESPN's Dan Raphael, he elects not to cover a big boxing event on HBO that produces over 1 million views. So Andre Ward is doing this without one of the largest sport networks backing them and promoting the fight. Andre Ward does this without a lot of media people even showing up, because a lot of mainstream media people, they have so much of a disdain for Andre Ward. Coincidentally, they didn't even show up to cover the fight, right? Even though they could have got all of this footage, that just shows you how much hate they have for this man. And when you really think about it, it's very reminiscent of the racist people that were refusing to celebrate Martin Luther King's holiday not too long ago. Now, you know that's some serious ass racism when you have a person saying, fuck that, I'd rather go to work rather than stay at home and get paid and celebrate this damn black man's holiday. This is the ignorance that existed then, and this is the type of ignorance we're dealing with now. You have a man like Dan Raphael that gets paid to cover boxing. He gets paid to cover boxing. He gets paid to fly from this state to that state, from this country to that country, just to cover boxing. And we would like to believe, I'm sure, he's a boxing fan. So do you know how much disdain you have to have for a man? And especially, once again, when you are American, right? ESPN is an American-based company. Andre Ward represented his country and won a gold medal for his country, right? Follow me now. And Dan Rafael, ESPN, they elect not to even cover the event. Oh, but they didn't have a problem covering Golovkin versus Willie Monroe, Golovkin versus Marco Antonio Rubio. But they don't want to cover their own countryman, Andre Ward. What a coincidence. What a coincidence. Now, you know it's funny, guys, because before I did this video, I just wanted to look up ESPN, and it's amazing what they say in like the first couple of paragraphs when it comes to describing the sport network. I'm gonna read this to you. And once again, this is the first time I even seen this on the internet. So this is what they say when it comes to describing ESPN. Quote, while ESPN is one of the most successful sport networks, there has been much criticism of ESPN, which includes accusations of biased coverage, conflict of interest, and controversies with individual broadcasters and analysts. End quote. Now, it's interesting that they will say this, because when they say this, the first thing I'm thinking about is this is the same sport network that gave Ronda Rousey the Fighter of the Year award over Floyd Mayweather, who just beat the Fighter of the Decade, Manny Pacquiao. And shortly following Ronda Rousey getting this award, she gets knocked out the same year that she wins the award. All courtesy of ESPN. Okay, so we've already established that Andre Ward was dealing with one of the largest sport networks in the nation, damn near boycotting Andre Ward's fight. And even though it wasn't technically a boycott, what is the difference? If you decide to not show up and cover one of the biggest fights in the sport, and your job is to cover big boxing events, especially ones that are on HBO, you elect not to show up, but you will show up for any of Golovkin's fights. That sounds pretty much like a damn boycott to me. Call it whatever you want, but that's what it sounds like, okay? So you had Andre Ward, who was fighting, and once again, mainstream media would not even cover his fight. It just happened to be one of the largest media outlets in the nation that refused to help promote this fight, okay? So once again, Andre Ward did not have the boost of ESPN promoting the fight and giving the fight the exposure that was needed. That's number one. You also have all of these fans constantly saying that Andre Ward is boring, he sucks, he can't sell out his parents' backyard, etc., etc., etc. He's a coward, he's inactive, he's a bum bitch. You got people saying all of this. Leads me to asking you decavs directly. How do you explain a guy that is boring, nobody wants to watch, ESPN won't even cover his fights, and he still produces over 1 million views? Imagine some kind of car race, some kind of NASCAR race, something like that. And it happens to be one of the racers you don't like. So you go over to that person's car when no one is looking, and you damn near poke a hole in a couple of his tires. You know, you poke a hole in the gas tank, and then, you know, you go back to your car with this evil ass grin. Next thing you know, the race starts, and this motherfucker who you just tried to sabotage still zooms right past you and places first. This is pretty much what Andre Ward did that night. They poked holes in his tires. ESPN poked holes in his gas tank. And the man still finished first. He didn't have any backing of HBO doing a road to Ward versus Barrera, right? There was no type of, 48 hours with Andre Ward or whatever that show is. What is it, 2 days with Andre Ward or whatever it is. They didn't do none of that with Andre Ward. Oh, they do it for Golovkin. You better believe they do it for Golovkin. They didn't do that for Andre Ward. So he had no push, and he still did 1 million views. Imagine if they were promoting him like he had his Hope insurance. That would have at least bumped these views up probably, to 1.3 million. But it doesn't matter because it's in that range. Anything from 1 million to 1.5 are very, very good TV ratings. Especially when you have everyone saying that you're so boring and you have media that have the nerve to not even show up and cover your event in fear of helping you get more views. You see how that works? So anyway, congratulations. This is the beginning of bigger and better things for Andre Ward. They tried to do the same thing to Floyd Mayweather. 10 years ago, they were talking about how Mayweather, he couldn't fill up arenas and there were empty seats and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Floyd Mayweather turned out to be the biggest star in all of sports. Okay? He has broken all of the pay-per-view records, all of them. You look at the top 3 pay-per-view fights, and all 3 of them include Floyd Mayweather. When Andre Ward fights Sergey Kovalev, because this is a big if because there's no guarantee. If he were to beat Kovalev, then the official torch has been passed from Floyd Mayweather to Andre Ward in every aspect. That's all I got, guys. I'm on to the next one.
This is Bobby, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.